We've just spent the last couple of hours with the board game Cosmic Conquest, figuring out which are the best characters. Now you have to take one of each class, the Saviors, the Destroyers, and the Sentinels. We'll share our secrets with you on which ones we think are the best here on Legendary Tactics. Gastel, thank you for joining me. So we had quite a bit of fun going through and figuring out the relative strengths and merits of these, and we actually do have one added bonus for you at the end of the video that we'll take you through another tier list as well. All right, so first up we've got Gearwin. This is our worst savior. We actually gave her a D, and the reason for it, I used her in our last game. Very limited ability to heal. She's restoring 2 to other members. I found you take 8 damage in a round. Healing 2 isn't very good, and she's restoring some health to people. Very weak overall.
Next is Valens Solarial. We ranked her at a C-. She wasn't very effective at being a savior. In general, her powers were just under the average.
Just slightly better than Gearwin. Next up, we've got Zyphirian. We gave him a B, and he's a fairly average player all around, I think. He limits the other support cards players can play. He gets extra attack dice, and he gets an extra combat dice. So he'll do a little extra damage if you're using him. Not bad, a little two-way kind of action there.
Caprius from Earth is our first one to get an A ranking.
Ooh, nice.
Uses XP to heal, lots of healing in its in the Scarab Shield, but why it doesn't get an S is we found the Scarab teleportation, not a terrible power, but not super powerful.
It's good to be able to move around, but there's other ways you can do that.
Absolutely.
So, very good. Next up is Cadavros, and I love him as an all-round healing character. So he basically sacrifices in order to heal. I love that he can steal. He reduces health from this guy, and he restores health to all of the other contenders. So quite frankly, he would be one of my first choices.
And last in our savior list, but not least, is Sanai, an S-tier character who may be the best in the whole game. Heals using cards, but also is able to steal XP, which is
that's huge.
Difficult to get XP in this game, and so being able to steal it from an opponent not only hampers them, but benefits yourself as well. My contender for the best character in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. The 4-point XP swing is huge. So let's move to the Destroyers. Now, of the 3 classes, this is probably the lowest ranked, but there are some surprising gems near the bottom of this pack.
Absolutely. The first Shadow Blade only got a D ranking from us, but mainly because their passive ability requires you to spend XP in the recovery phase before your turn is even began, and you have to predict what's going to be happening during your turn. I wish that had been written a slightly different way.
Yeah, and that one's a bit tough because XP is valuable in this, so that's a huge cost. Next we've got Harmonisworn, and we gave this one a C rating, and I think this character is solid if other characters aren't awakened, but overall we found the passive ability to be not particularly useful, so they add an extra 2 swords to the final combat value.
Iron Piston is our next one in the Destroyer category, and I happened to play with Iron Piston in our first game. I found him to be very swingy. Some turns he was fantastic, but most of the time he just sort of blended into the background.
Okay, next up we've got Windhoof. Now, I haven't played with anybody who's actually chosen this character yet, and I think that's just because he's right in the middle of the pack, but you get to re-roll dice with him, and you can add extra attack values, and I think overall he'll chisel away at the opponents without any big splashes.
Right. Our next Destroyer, Fang Yin, is great for 2 reasons. 1, straight off 4 swords added to your combat value, and 2, being able to restore health if you just choose not to re-roll your dice.
That's right. So if you get a decent roll off the hop, then you're healing.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. All right, and our top pick for the Destroyers is Genesis. This guy just does a ton of extra splash damage, extra damage everywhere. Frankly, he's just going to create a lot of chaos, so I like him as a fighter. Yeah, I think to me he is the true definition of a Destroyer.
I think he was easily the pick of the class.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's go on to the Sentinels, and I actually found this class to be quite good.
More all-rounders and some interesting capabilities. Amalgamite, our lowest ranked one, still gets a C-, so not terrible on its own.
That's right.
Lots of rerolls and splash damage, but unfortunately what keeps it from a higher tier is a weak passive ability.
Okay, my next one for the Sentinels is Thragor. This, you actually flummoxed me so many times because I couldn't overthrow a planet while Thragor was protecting. And Thragor was really good with the shields. Add 1 shield for each shield in your combat value. So I mean, you can like double up on your shields with this guy. So if you want to lock down a planet, that's the way to go.
Moving to Zenith Prime, we get the Sentinel Alpha Aster. Alpha Aster gets a C+ rating, fantastic abilities if your opponent's roll misses. However, it didn't get a higher rating because you are dependent upon getting those extra rolls. However, it does have an ability that gives you gambit points right from the character itself.
Next we go to Doomcaster, and I would actually say that Doomcaster gets a B rating for me because of the Tempest Wrath Assault. I think this is the one where you really get, you steal 2 XP from the opponent, and then you add some shield, you add some sword. So overall there's a nice sway there.
But that XP is huge.
It is massive. These other 2 abilities are fine. They're not bad. That's what's preventing it from getting an A, but I think this ability is really powerful.
An all-rounder Sentinel coming from the dragon planet Dracaroth is Anzundak. I love the name. The name is great on its own. One thing that Anzundak has is an ability to overthrow planets that's different than what's on the planet cards. And opening new avenues to victory is huge in this game, and it gets a solid A rating.
I played with this character and I found that all of the powers were really good, so there's a really nice balance there. I'm going to argue that not Sinai, but actually Clarity, the Sentinel, is the best character in the game. And I see you nodding your head in agreement. The main reason is that there is a little bit of luck involved, but if you roll 3 shields here, you can do 6 damage to each of the player's contenders. So 18 extra damage you could do here. This is massively OP. There's some nice heal factor here, some nice splash damage here. Overall, this is an incredible character. Choose this one if you are starting out fresh with this game.
And in all, I found the Sentinels to be the strongest of the 3 classes.
That's right. So, absolutely. Now, we do have one extra special treat that we promised you from the start. Some of these planets, we believe, are actually better than others.
When reviewing the planets, we looked at 2 things. We looked at its passive ability, and we also looked at the characters that are associated with that planet. The reason being, you actually get bonuses if you control a planet that is also the home planet of one of your contenders. Right. However, in last place, we both felt that Cogheim fell behind. Not only was its passive ability not super strong, but neither of its characters were very well rated.
That's right. The passive ability isn't great here because you have to have a weapon engaged in order to make that work. So next up we've got Zenith Prime as our second worst, and this one here, that you can overthrow planets by meeting the conquer criteria instead of the overthrow criteria. There really isn't that much difference. It's slightly harder to overthrow than it is to conquer, but this isn't a massive benefit. And in terms of its characters, we've got Genesis and Alpha Aster. Genesis being much stronger than Alpha Aster, but we didn't find a big synergy between those characters in this particular Conquest.
Bardega had an okay character in Cadavros, who was actually I think our second highest rated savior, but its passive ability was not great because, again, it
benefits the opponent.
It benefits the opponent just as much as it benefits yourself.
Right, so you have armory cards here, and what that allows you to do is to cycle these through, but it helps everybody at the table.
Right.
All right, our next one was Earth, and this one actually had some decent synergy with its characters. It enhances your ability to move around the board. I think in a game that has more players, this could be a really effective way to target specific areas without needing to pay that extra 2 XP cost to get there. So not a bad ability, right in the middle.
And nicely right into the top half we go to Mechadralia, and its big benefit is its passive ability, which gives you both weapons and shields based upon the states of your characters.
The next one we'll look at is Synthoria. Now, the characters that were attached to this one, which are Amalgamite and Harmonosworn, we didn't find particularly strong, but this passive ability is pretty good, that you can limit a defender to only 1 die reroll. So if you go in and you want to do some serious damage, it's great to have this power.
Continuing in the upper third, we have Eldralor. Its passive ability allowing you to speed up your cooldowns for powers, which could be quite effective.
If you want to just keep hammering your opponents.
And the 2 characters that are associated with it are also fairly decent.
Absolutely. Okay. My top pick is Evelyn because Zephyrion and Clarity both have incredible powers. Clarity especially with the healing. You get an added passive bonus with the healing. So if you really want to stay alive in the game and keep your characters fresh, I think this is a great planet to challenge.
And our top planet is Dracaroth, the dragon planet. Not only does it have an excellent passive ability, which gives you an extra die both when attacking and defending, but both of the dragon characters, the contenders, are excellent. A tier and B tier, so
and
really
we give this an S overall because if you've got the 2 dragons, I think there's a better chance, especially with more players in the game, that you hang on to this ability. This will be a coveted ability.
This will be coveted, and so having both of those dragons hanging around protecting it is going to be great.
And they've got some great defensive abilities too, so
absolutely
fantastic. Okay, so this has been our coverage. We've done a complete tier list for all of the characters, all of the classes, and the planets. So if you have any thoughts on the game in terms of where you rank them, if you disagree with any of our picks, please let us know. But in the meantime, get out there,
get gaming,
and be legendary.